Kosti Rahama was born in Quincy, Massachusetts in 1913. His family moved to a 240-acre piece of land on Dodge Mountain in Rockland, Maine in 1924. They enjoyed the views of Penobscot Bay and the blueberries that grew there. Kosti was an artist. His education began in the Rockland schools and continued through his time in Boston at the School of Practical Art, where he studied painting and drawing. After graduating, he worked as a commercial artist with the Forbes Lithographic Company, also in Boston. Kosti bought his first camera in 1937. In 1938, he went to work for Disney Studios in California. His hiring was big news in Rockland. The local newspaper reported the distinct honor, noting he was among hundreds who applied for the position. He traveled cross-country by train, and it was during that trip he became familiar with his camera. He took photos along the way, shooting from the platform on the back of the train. At that time, Disney was encouraging its artists to visualize light, mood, and movement. Kosti was an animator for Disney. He painted atmospheres and backgrounds for film, including Fantasia and Pinocchio. Rahama spent some time in New York, where he connected with Black Star, an agency home to famous photographers such as Felipe Hausman, W. Eugene Smith, and Bill Brandt. He was a photojournalist who approached his work as an artist, Farnsworth curator Angela Waldron said. Upon returning home to Maine, he worked as a mostly self-taught magazine photographer. Rahama rose to prominence in the 1940s and the 1950s. During this time, magazines were a vehicle for vicarious travelers. Newsstands and subscription-filled mailboxes across the country were bursting with picture magazines such as Life, Look, and National Geographic. Kosti was known well by magazine readers in the day. He photographed assignments all over North America and Europe, but he mostly was known and associated with his pictures of New England. His home state of Maine became a major source of his work, and he was recognized for it by critics and writers in photography annuals. Kosti himself wrote in the American Society for Magazine Photographers Annual in 1959. Photographing the state of Maine has been an attempt to portray traditional characteristics within the mood of the terrain or in whatever shack was hiding them at the moment. Much is hidden in the offbeat nooks and crannies, for this is the way of life that is fast vanishing. It is somewhat regrettable that the traditional individuality and nonconformity of the Maine man is a disappearing trait. Fortunately, too, there remain in the state a number of cantankerous, stubborn individuals who spit with disdain at the notion of being victimized into conformity. Theirs is the stuff that puts lifeblood into dead hypo and ointment in the camera shutter. Kosti first met his friend and colleague Andrew Wythe while he decided to show up at his house unannounced and uninvited in 1950, 2 years after he had painted Christina's World. But his most celebrated photographs were of the people and landscapes of Maine, a selection of which, with the text of Lou Dietz, were publicized in Night Train at Wiscott Station. He also never documented a war or glamorized celebrities, but he was an alcoholic. Kosti Rahama died at the age of 47 in 1961. Deanna Bonner Ganter has written a biography of Kosti Rahama. It came out this year on March 16, 2016. The passionate photographer, Kosti Rahama's Maine in Magazine Photojournalism is now an exhibit at the Maine State Museum.